So I also got pin badges. But there he is. He is completed. Damn you. Oh no. Look at that. Yeah, most likely. So yes. An Ivysaur. Look at that. Good morning. Hello. I hope you're all alright on this fine bank holiday Monday morning. Most Brits don't have work unless you're in retail. Oh, let's move closer to the desk. Okay then. Right. Today we're just going to be painting. Let me just change the title. Because we'll be painting different things from Gundam, stuff like that, today, or this morning at least. And then this evening we'll probably continue with the Goff rocker. So yeah, so between 7 and 8 today I'll be streaming again this evening. And hopefully we'll do some more stream then. Just change all that. Cool. I should just double check everything's working all right. There's other things like to change as you go. Which is all good. Alright, cool. So the music's not too loud, it's not overpowering me, which is nice. So let's start painting. If you saw any pictures on Twitter before, everything was orange, but I've repainted it grey because the orange was not going real well at all. So I've got some more oranges. At the moment I want to be able to paint this orange on top. That's my first layer. I was hoping to go to this orange, but I might try a couple of oranges. I've got this metallic orange here, and then I also have a neon orange I won't mind using instead, if I can. So, which is this orange here. Also, as the same rules apply as well. Come 11 o'clock, if there's been no new followers, I'll open a Pokemon card. Pokemon booster pack from one of the Japanese sets of Scarlet EX or Pokemon Go. But as I say, every time there's a new follower, if I get any today, I'll open a pack as well just for them. Alright, so let's get started. First paintbrush I want is this one. That's nice and long. So I do use mainly army painted brushes, but I do have a ton of others. I have. Let's get my other camera up so I can show you. So I do have like a bunch of brushes. I've got GW stock here as well. As well as the Chinese company brushes at the back here with like special grips on. Those bronze things are my decal pliers. So they help apply decal and then remove any excess fluid. So yeah. Alright, let's start with this one. Start with this orange. So this orange I want to use as a base. That's why I went back to the grey on everything. That's going to be orange. Normally I build up to colours because sometimes you have to build up to a lighter colour, but it just was not working. For some reason it was not, even though I put stuff on in thin layers, it just was blending in. It didn't want to blend in at all. So yeah, so we'll try that again. Alright, I need my water plastic, which is up here. So yeah, so a lot of my additives, so most of my paints are Citadel range, and a lot of my additives are Insta paints. Because Insta paint additives cheap and very, very good. Water plus is better than just normal water because it doesn't separate the pigment from the medium, which is good, and it works with all types of acrylics. Is even better. I can see my camera's having problems keeping up with me. Right, let's start with the veins. This is where I had the most problem with the orange, which is annoying. So fill my paintbrush with some paint, and then start applying. Again, nice thin coats. If you don't get it all, don't worry. You can always go back when it's dry to recover it. That's when you get the brush streaks. The grey I used, this grey here, is a Citadel foundation paint, which are very old paints. And they're very thick. However, they go down and apply in one coat. There's a form that they tried years ago, which worked, but they did go off quicker. So if you find a set of foundation paints that are still going, you're in luck. Because there is a white as well in foundation. Okay, let that dry. Next one. Yeah, so as you can see, I'm just going for single layers at a time. What I also do, once I've applied multiple layers of this and then it's dry and looks good, I then go over with an orange wash just to help blend it together a bit better. Next thing is these big bits here. I'm not really caring about going on for green right now because I can correct all that and go back over. You're nice and gentle and careful. You can usually get the colour down in a nice, even smooth layer, but in a single sweep. That's why I do very thin layers when painting by hand. So yeah, so I'll probably go all this 3 or 4 times just to get that solid colour. Then add a wash, and wash will also help with a bit of shading. And then I'll probably go back over this colour again over the wash. Just to bring it back to that colour. And then I'll try probably go into the next bright orange. And then hopefully go into the neon. Because yeah, I could have done all this with an airbrush. But I don't have that freely access to an airbrush like others do. Mine's up in a workshop. And it's not really the best weather because it's not, the workshop isn't heated. So yeah. I don't have the best internet up at the workshop either, so streaming is a bit difficult from there. It is quite a distance to walk to. Almost done this bit, then we'll have to redo more orange down on my palette. And the fun thing about this medium I use, Water Plus, you can turn stuff into like a contrast paint. I could really change my water at some point. I'll do that after this stream. Let's add some Water Plus. No, you need a drop. Drop's enough to thin any acrylic. Right, next we're going to do these vents here on the shield parts. And try and get them in one swoop. Just making sure this paintbrush is loaded with not too much paint though, because you don't want to splodge it on. Got nice thin colours. As Duncan Rhodes says, 2 thin coats. In my case, 5 thin coats. And again, don't worry if you're missing anything. You can always go back over, because the coats are thin enough, you're not going to build up too much colour at once. Which is the main thing. Because you don't want dark or light patches to appear. Painting is technically a waiting game. If you want the best paint. Knowing when paint's dry, how long each type of paint will be ready to paint over, and also knowing what paint reacts to another. Because you can paint with something, then it'll strip the paint off of the previous layer. So sometimes if you're working with different types of paint, so if you're working with acrylics, oils and solvent based paints, sometimes it's a good idea to put a protective layer in between, like a top coat. So like, it's the same with it, even just going on bare plastic, always use a primer first. There's some plastics like ABS, some solvent based or acrylic based paints will crack the ABS. It's always good to go with a primer and stuff like that before you even paint it. And then like even with even if you're not painting with plastic, but you're gonna do any kind of panel lining, it's always a good idea to get a top coat of clear gloss on top of all panels, even if you're not going to have it glossed, so the panel lining just runs better. Which is what I'm going to do with this, is once I've actually got it painted, before I even panel line it, I'm going to cover it all in a coat of gloss, give it a do all the panel lining and do a top coat of matte, to bring it back to a not like this non-sheen, and then probably going to go over again parts I want glossy with the gloss, like the eyes and such like that. Make those parts stand out a little. Especially if you're first time doing hand brushing that. Be patient. Take your time with it. Don't rush it. Rushing can only lead to mistakes. That's why if you get some commission painters, they take a while to do anything. Because they're taking the time they want for the piece to be perfect. So I'm taking my time with the Goff rocker. Cool. As you probably noticed, when I'm loading up the paint on my brush, I'm not getting too much on there. Just want to get enough so it's on the tip. You don't want too much so it goes up into here, because it will follow the brush bristles and go into here. Once it goes into here, it can start damaging your brush. So you want to try and prevent that. Okay, so that layer's done on those ones. Dun dun dun. You next. As you can see, I'm also using a big kitchen roll just to wipe off any excess paint. And now it is the long and arduous task of painting these funnels. Where did this other arm go? Oh, it's in there. Well, thank you, Goff, for the raid. How are you? What have you been up to? What have you been streaming this morning? Or in your case, this evening? I'm just painting a custom Gundam. Thank you, Stevie. Hello, everyone. If you're, thanks for joining me. At the moment, this morning, and my morning, I'm in the UK. I am hand painting a Gundam, a custom Gundam. You might recognise some of the kit. Good morning, Stevie. How you doing? Good morning, Real Brush Guy. Hope you're doing well. I was working on a resin conversion. Nice. Yeah, Phil Bridgecraft. Woo. Yeah, there's a few of us. I'm not worked with resin conversion yet. I've got one for my Zaku, Char Zaku 2.0 to turn into a sniper. No, it also makes Robust Guy out of me. Yeah, welcome all. No, I know resin can be a pain to work with because it's like worked with resin before, but hope it wasn't too bad for you, Corvus. Yeah, everyone's welcome. Welcome. As you can see, mainly I paint Warhammer or build Gunpla, or resin kits and stuff like that. At the moment, as you can see, I am painting a custom build. Slowly, but surely getting there. Trying to get this orange to work. I'm a pro at it. All good. That's good to hear. So yeah, if you like seeing people paint Gunpla and that, I'm here. I do a bit of Pokemon on the side now and then, but the main focus is for painting, because building side is pretty easy and quick. We can have it NZ66, right? I cannot remember its name, but yes. So it's partly the NZ66. So the arms and legs are from it, and so are these. So I'm doing all the funnels. This is the HG, but the main torso is from the Death Army Mono Eye from G Gundam. I had to so I'm about to 3D print new sockets here, so these shoulder joints will actually fit in there, because normally it's a ball joint socket. Yes, I do have a GW water cup. And I also had to 3D print if it's in here. There it is. So I even 3D printed a new waist system, so I can actually fit the legs sockets into here. Because again, these were just ball joints. So yeah. So I had to do a lot of printing and rework and stuff so I can get this conversion to work. I hope all of you are doing alright. Especially those Brits who are enjoying the Bank Holiday Monday. Ah, awesome. Thanks, Phil Brush Guy. Thanks for the follow on the on here too. Much appreciated. I appreciate all the follows. The more people I can get my work out to, the better. Because I like sharing and helping others. So if anyone's like got questions about how to paint, how to build, I'm always happy to help. You can follow me on Insta, you can follow me on Twitter and all that. Yep, sat watching the Battle of Britain with a coffee. Oh, yeah. Typical British Bank Holiday Monday thing to do. Yeah, I'm just putting down my first coat of orange on all this grey. And I've done this orange now. This is like my 4th time trying to get this orange right. So I tried to put it onto the green that was already here. Then I tried redoing, layering up the orange. That didn't work. So I tried going from a red. That didn't work. So now I've got to just painted everything grey. I'm just starting with the grey and going straight in with the orange. But I'm going to do it slowly. Layer by layer. So it's going to probably like take 3 or 4 layers of orange before the orange actually takes. It becomes a nice solid layer. Yeah. But thank you all for joining. You join me on my start of my week off from work as well. So every morning this week except for Wednesday I am streaming. And I'll be streaming again this evening from 7 to 8 GMT. Starting until like 11 o'clock at night. And then I'll probably either paint this or I'll paint the Goff rocker, which is sat right there. Commiserating from colonies in British Columbia as it rains here. Don't worry, it's raining here too. Probably not as bad as you, but it is raining here as well. I have quite a wet Monday. Orange. Need to reload my orange. Yeah, so all those have just joined me. I use mainly Citadel paints, acrylic paints. However, I do have others that lie around. I'm on the East Coast, it's done nothing this year but rain. So yeah, so if you ain't from Britain, you're quite familiar with Citadel. There is another paint company I like to use a lot, and it's Insta Paints. They do a lot of additives as well as colours. They do a little box set of 5 colours, which you can mix 30,000 different colours from. I do highly recommend it, and they're an English company based in Norwich. Skeg Vegas, my backside. East coast of what? Scotland. See, I'm on the east. I'm on the east coast. I'm in Norfolk. So, you can't get more east than me. Or in England. Well, you can. Great Yarmouth. It's rubbish. Does it even matter? No. No, it's such a small island. Don't matter. But we've got quite a varied ecosystem. So it could be raining where I am now, but 5 minutes down the road it could be sunny. We prefer Scotland. Yeah, this is just a nice and chill stream basically every time. All conversations are welcome. I'm not much of a stickler for it. You can also check out my VODs for earlier builds on my YouTube, where I've also uploaded some VODs. Last thing I built proper was the Yodel Parks Shockwave, which was a nice kit. It just sat over there somewhere. I've had it before at my old job, which was 8 miles from home. We'll be in there, sunny and dry at home. Yep. The UK has the most unique weather system. That's because of the mid-Atlantic stream that goes up through the Atlantic, comes straight past Cornwall, an island. And then we got the Gulf Stream, which goes over us. That wind system. And them combined bring a whole variety of different types of weather systems to us. So unlike places like the States where they have one type of weather for one state. These are going quicker than last time. Just loading up for brushes. Quick, one motion at a time, layer by layer. You can teach monkeys to fly better than that. Don't get good lines like that in movies anymore. Oh, hey, Gundam. I mean, Rick. Jeez, I keep calling you Gundam. I should say that for you, it's a Gundam. How you doing, Rick? How's your jaw? Welcome to the stream. I am Gundam. You are Gundam. Alright. You join me as I'm hand painting some funnels. Orange, well, first layer of orange anyway. So I'm taking my time. 4th try at it. Just popping to say hi before I head to the dentist. Oh, finally. Off you go. Probably see you later. On your stream this afternoon, if you're good. I am Gunplay. Nice. Yeah. If you all don't know, Gundam fan is the person that's got me into streaming. You can always catch his stream today at 1 if he's up and ready after the dentist. They haven't pulled out a tooth. Or if he's too high on meds. Hopefully back for your 1, yeah. He's a good all-round guy. I'm more numb. That would be a fun camera. It would be. See how watching you speak. Oh, jumble up your words, which I do without that. Almost done with these funnels. And then start with the next layer of orange. Oh. Let's put this over here. It's easier to reach then. I'm also a brush licker. I have a bad habit of doing that. Ooh. Oh, give me a little bit of stretch and a rest. Oh. As we have a new follower, I'll open up a Pokemon card for Rick. As I know he loves his Pokemon cards. Do mind, because I don't know all Pokemon names. All my cards are Japanese. Yes, content. What, and painting orange on funnels wasn't content? Okay, let's save that for these misses. First pull is a Magikarp. I cannot remember its name. A Zatu. A Bidoof. A shiny Snorlax. Which would be I've already got. And of course, an energy card. So I think I've got all them already. So they're all spares. They go on my spare box. Let's open up one of the newer ones. Just because it's Rick. Scarlet EX. One of the newer ones. Oh, I haven't got that one yet. But yeah, so yeah. He's only got 5 cards in these packs. Like Petalil, I think her name is. Oh, I should know it. This is a kill me because I can't remember that name. I should really look these up and get myself a Pokedex. I've already got a secret rare for that. And a Chorkle. I'm really bad with names. Lechink. You mean Lechonk? That's it, the chonk. The weird pig. So yeah, so I haven't got some of these, so they'll go in my folder. But Asian cards. The Japanese. The Koreans and Chinese have their own as well, you know. I prefer Japanese card stock. There we go. Bloody card. It's in the wrong place. Oh, I madly thought it goes there because of it being an evolution. But no, apparently there's going to be one before it. That one's fire next. Why have I done that? I think I've done all my cards wrong. But it don't bother me. That's number 9 there. That's number 10. Again, because I thought it was an evolution, he went straight next to it. Alright. Then I want the psychic. Yep, it goes there. I wonder how much my Roxanne got. To be fair, because it is a secret rare, it could be worth something. I'm not sure how much exactly off the top of my head. So I've got that one. Just at the moment from this pack. Grade 10 city. That's not bad, is it? Well, it's going to cost you a tenner to get it graded, ain't it? So you've got to take that into account. Alright, let's get back to painting. What everyone's here for. Oh, excuse me. I'm getting so many grade-worthy cards. So yeah, you do. Especially on with the earlier packs, especially when it first came out. It get harder as it goes on. Trust me. Let's get these funnels finished. Right, one more set of funnels. Just slowly applying these layers as thin as I can without them going like goopy like a contrast. Oops. No, should have enough orange here for these if I need to reload. Right, last funnel. Scoop up as much orange as I can. I'm being a bit lazy at the moment and just dry brushing on the orange. Just seems to be doing better than anything else. No, there's that. Right, all funnels done, all orange is done. I have been accidentally adding nubs to my water. So yeah, let's let that dry for a little bit longer. As you can see over here, I've got some stickers. So these little ones are from Gundam, from Rick, and these ones are mine. Ones that I do. So I do sell stuff on eBay, and every time there's an eBay order, they get a free sticker. And if there's an order, that's like 80 quid to get a free badge. So I do my own pin badges. I'm also 3D printing a bunch of pin badges too. Why not? If you can 3D print, why not make your own pin badges? Once I can get channel points, these badges will be part of channel points. Yeah, for those who are Warhammer fans, I designed my own Hellhound because Forge World don't do it no more. As I said before, I had to 3D print these shoulder joints here so I can get the arms to fit onto this torso. And I do have actually like a whole set of HG 3D printed parts that replace the polycaps because polycaps are rubbish. So they're on my Coats 3D, which are free to download and print yourselves, and if you want to sell them, you can sell them. It's up to you, I don't care. I do a lot of my own custom work these days. If I can get away with doing it without having to pay someone else, I'll do it. Like my custom orc, war boss. Custom demi trainer, which I'm gonna have to paint. I'm also going to be making decals, my own decals for this kit as well. So I'll be printing those off. Most of them are going to be like my symbol. And I've got a bunch of spare decals for like little detail bits. So yeah, so this is going to be like a well looked after kit eventually. And if you want to see how it goes and that, you can always follow. Every follow helps and is much appreciated. Even if you're just someone who likes to lurk, it's fine. Don't have to chat, just listen to me ramble on. Waiting for paint to dry. Is the worst part of painting. Waiting. Oh, clicking on my knuckles. That can't be safe for you. My shoulder's my worst. I got a dodgy shoulder and a dodgy left knee. Thanks to the Navy. I did forget some orange parts, which is like the top of his head. Let's get those done. While waiting for the rest of it to dry. Thanks for your service. Oh, thank you, Stevie. It was only 6 years. I was an aircraft engineer for the Royal Navy, working on Harrier jump jets. And then Merlin submarine hunters. Okay, got to get ready as a dentist. It's a good driveway. That's alright, Rick. Have fun at a dentist. Hopefully you come back in one piece. And hopefully we'll see you at 1. Stevie, I tried but failed, but at least I tried. That's it. That's the main thing. You tried. I tried for 6 years. At the end, I wasn't really suited for military life. So I left. Plus my health wasn't getting any better. Both mental and physical. So I got to a point where I couldn't even run. I wasn't even allowed to run. Because of my knee. I just heard something moving, which is odd because I'm the only one in the room. Tried for the RAF, got into RAF Red Reserves, but failed the NBC drill. Oh, I see. Yeah. Yeah, my dad's ex-RAF. He did 30 years. My mum's ex-RAF. She did 2. 2 years before she had me. She was in for 2 years and then she had me. My granddad was Royal Guard, horseback, as well as RAF. And my little brother is a failed actor. Because he didn't want to be in the military and doesn't like authority. So he's trying to be an actor right now. That's a settle for freelance video editing. I used to, because I wasn't Harrier jump jets, I worked alongside the RAF a lot. And the RAF are a lot more laid back than the Navy, I can tell you that. But I did enjoy. I don't regret joining. It's definitely an experience worth having. I don't regret leaving either, because it did start to change a lot. Just really trying to get some camera. Just trying to get this trim sorted. So the trim's going to be a bright orange, and then the inset is going to be a nice purple. Because nothing goes better together than bright orange and green with a dark purple. That's that layer done. I love the Harrier, such a cool looking aircraft and great design and technology. Shane they retired. Oh, trust me, the amount of controversy and contention behind them being retired, nobody was happy. It was all political. Bloody RAF. So yeah. I was there on the final flight. My aircraft was one of the ones that was flying when I serviced. The red-tailed 80, was it 800? Yeah, 800 NAS. That was my Harrier. Number 87, I believe. Had no end of problems, but knew its personality well. But dangerous. Saw one at Duxford Air Show. It's still show. Yeah, they do, because it's a plane that hovers and it's loud. And things they can do with it. It was a marvel to work on. I did enjoy it. I still remember it now. Know it inside and out. Every single component. I was trained on doing the avionics, the radar, the radios, all that jazz. But I also did a lot of work on the engine as a grubber side, mechanical side. So I know that engine inside and out. I've done engine scopes and everything. I've checked every single blade on it. So yeah. I was on the Ark Royal when they did their last, when my squadron did its last sea run. Back in 2010 when the Icelandic volcanoes erupted. They're noisy buggers though. Especially when your room's next to the runway or underneath the deck where they land. You can hear them for miles. And they got such a distinctive engine noise. When it finished its display, it stopped in the middle of the runway, bowed to the left, then to the right, then to the centre, then Foxtrot Oscar. Yeah. Yep, that is a real good party piece. think we had before they were taken out of service, they were running on 2 different engines because they're called the Pegasus engine with a biduct exhaust and counter-rotating, so which meant that you had 2 sets of fans then. So you got the first set of fans which span one way, and then you had another set of fans that spanned the other one in the engine, because if you had them all spinning the same way, the torque would be so much in that engine it'd spin the aircraft. So the fans inside the engine had to rotate in different directions. Yeah. So a jet engine's very basic if you all know how a jet engine works. Air in, exhaust out. You have a bunch of fans at the front which suck the air in, compress it and heat it up. And then you got a turbine at the back which is connected to those fans. So all the exhaust turns the turbine which turns the fans. It's a all you have to do then is add fuel into the combustion chamber. Because the engine was so large, it was like 2 meters in diameter just for the intake. It created so much power. The thing is with the Harrier, Harrier can't fly, it cannot glide, anything. It was a Bristol Pegasus biduct exhaust thing. I used to know the full name. They had 2 types, 105, which had 35 blades in the front section, and then the 107, which only had 32. But the other main difference between the 2 engines is the 105 had a kidney-shaped oil tank, and the 107 had a drum-shaped oil tank. Also, for 105 was prone to overheating in the hover, so Harriers had a water tank at the back, not only to keep balance, but to dump a load of water on the engine when it was in hover, just to stop it from overheating. Whereas 107 didn't need to, so it could hover for longer without overheating. A little Harrier fact. And and it had, of course, as you've seen, Harriers have 4 nozzles which help it hover. The front 2 nozzles were what we call the cold air nozzle. So the cold air nozzles took all the air thrust from the front part of the engine, so all the fans that compress it and suck it in, whereas the rear 2 nozzles were the hot nozzles where all the exhaust came out. So when it pointed them down, so all thrust for the Harrier was done through those nozzles. That's why it was a subsonic jet, because it couldn't use an afterburner to go supersonic, because of a biduct exhaust at the end, which was commonly known as the trousers. And also for rotation, so a lot of the mechanics and directional stuff, a lot of the stuff was taken off the engine and the air system in the engine. So the Samsu, which was a little motor which turned the nozzles, that was powered by air coming from the 8th stage fans in the front. So it was high pressure air, which turned the nozzles up and down. And then it would also funnel air, I think, from the 5th stage. So when the Harrier's in the hover, there's like a nozzle. There's a little nozzle at the front. Crackling now. That's weird. I feel I'm talking so much. I'm not used to it. Oh, he's crackling. What's going on there? Let me just see if I can do something over here. Oh, I turned my game down, so it shouldn't be that. Yeah, that's not changing anything. Is that better? No, it's come straight back as soon as I start talking. Weird. Is that better? Yeah, that's it. So I use an XLR cable. The rest of the packet, yeah. And then it's USB. It sounds better now. Yeah, I had to lower volume to reduce the cackling. Oh, let me just. I should be louder now. Yeah, on. Just up me on for mixer here. There you go. Oh, I'm using a mixer unit, and it was free. I just had it lying around the house. But thanks for telling me it's crackling. It probably is a physical problem. This mic's cheap. One mic I use is very cheap. Yeah, it's okay again. Thanks. Yeah, it might be just a mic. I might have to buy a new mic at some point. Thank you for follow, Jaeger Moo. Thank you. Much appreciated. So yeah, where was I? I was talking about Harrier engine and getting quite in depth with it. For trousers, for air. So yeah, on the wingtips and the nose of the aircraft and at the rear of the aircraft, there were air nozzles. So the front and rear of the aircraft. That's fine. It's good to tell me. It's good to tell me when something like that happens. What's true for mine is built into a 20 quid webcam. I could use my headset mic. It might be better, but I prefer using a studio mic, so I don't have anything on my head. But no, so the front end and the rear end nozzles pointed up and down and left and right. So that gave you the for tilting forward and back, and for the left and right side. But yeah, it's about Harrier. So yeah, so it's about the Harrier. So so front nozzles, rear nozzles, and wingtip nozzles. And wingtip nozzles made it so you could tilt it on the y-axis on the wings, and that air that was used to do all that was taken off the engine on the fifth stage. It's quite a complicated system, the Harrier jump jet. However, it was good, and it didn't use fly-by-wire like a lot of modern aircraft do today. It was all physical linkages, which I prefer. So if you had any failure in the hydraulic systems that help move all the flaps and that, you can still fly it. Unlike fly-by-wire, which is once that's gone, you're dead. But the Pegasus engine was a powerhouse, and the only reason why the Harrier flew was because of the engine. It wasn't the engine. The Harrier don't glide. That engine conks out, you're dropping like a brick. That's why it had such stubby wings. It was made to be unaerodynamic. Been looking into different ways of painting these. What would be the best fit for me? I see. Painting, yeah. So you got airbrushing, you got hand brushing, main things. Quick change of subject. It all depends on your budget, how much time you're willing to spend on it. Stuff like that. The flying brick, yeah. That's what it's known as. The flying brick. A bit like an A10. A10 don't glide. The only reason why that flies is because of its engines. But yeah, it all depends on what you want to do, how you want to paint, how you want it to look. Because there are different ways. Because I don't often airbrush. I'm just trying to find something I have airbrushed. There's not much. So like the point of airbrushing is so it's smoother. And the layer, it's one coat and it's not like any brush marks. But if you know how to paint with the brush, you can get quite smooth results. I'll show you one of mine. One of my favourites. Let me just get the other camera up. I've got a second camera. So yeah. So you can see, even though this is all hand brushed, the camera won't focus. So you can get very good results with a paintbrush. It's a bit dusty now. But also it gives it more of a character than if you were, say, airbrushing. But the airbrush gives you a nice, cleaner look. Especially if you want that clean look. Right, let's continue painting. I can rabble on about anything if you want. So yeah, Barry was an interesting aircraft. Lots of fun. I've only ever flown it in a simulator. Unfortunately, they don't really tend to let the engineers fly their aircraft. Taddy-ho, taddy-ho. I remember one time, because Harriers do end up in bird strikes quite often. One of the bird strikes was an albatross once. And it bounced off the right air intake, and then it went into the external fuel tank, outboard fuel tank, and it ripped a massive hole in the fuel tank. And there was half an albatross in that fuel tank. So some poor lad, luckily it wasn't my aircraft, some poor lad had to go in there, gets a hazmat suit on and all that, and clean it out. Yeah, you. There's like this one time, when they were out in Arizona doing some practice runs with the Americans. This one pilot came back because English pilots, British pilots like to fly low. They like flying low because it's good practice getting on, enemy radar. And one pilot came back saying, "Oh, for the controls for the tailplane are a bit stiff. They're not responding as well as should." The engineer pointed to the back and said, "Yeah, because you're missing half of it." The back, he ripped off the left side. There's a bit of cactus hanging off it because he flew too low and and hit cactus. It just shows you how robust a Harrier was. Yeah, oops. Like the last Gulf War we had, they were used more as a psychological weapon than an actual weapon. Because when, like, say, some grunts or Marines were stuck in a building in a street firefight with some insurgents or some Taliban and that, they would hover the Harrier down the street. So it'd be like 10 feet off the ground. I would hover into the street and point at the building the Taliban were in. Of course, the Harrier didn't have machine guns because of the stupidity of the UK government, but it still had Sidewinder missiles and rocket pods. So you can imagine if you're sat in a building and all of a sudden there's this aircraft just hovering in front of you with these massive gun pods on the side of it. You would kind of brick it. So that was good tactics. Also, they were great for bombing runs because they were slower than a supersonic jet, slower than a tornado. They could locate the target and bomb in one run, whereas the tornado had to do a flyby first of the target and then come back in and drop its payload. So yeah, the Harrier was a very good all-round aircraft. It's just because it wasn't supersonic, they didn't want it anymore. Also internal politics, where the RAF wanted to push the Navy out of fixed-wing aircraft. So instead of getting rid of 3 of the 6 Tornado squadrons, which cost a lot of money to run, they got rid of the last 3 Harrier squadrons instead. So the Navy didn't have any fixed wing. So yeah, it's a weird story. So the original Sea Harrier, the GR3, so the FE2 and the GR3, they had machine gun pods on the bottom. So normally the machine gun pods will go underneath where you got these little fins which make up the coffin. And the coffin's like a box that's made up in the hover so that it catches the air to keep the aircraft afloat. But yeah, so the gun pods will go underneath on either side, running alongside the landing gear. That was a GR3 and FE2 Harrier 1. Then the Americans brought the design of the Harrier 1 and redesigned it to make the new airframe, the Harrier 2, which is what everyone's familiar with. So for GR7 and GR9. And so they made the airframe bigger. So the original Harrier was tiny, and then made it a little bit bigger so it could carry more payload. But it was still a British engine, still for Rolls-Royce Pegasus. But when we took the airframe back off the Americans, the Harrier 2, they offered to give us machine guns to go with the machine gun pods. And our government's like, nah, we've already got machine guns for our Harriers. We don't need the machine guns to go with these pods. Lo and behold, though, the machine guns we had for the Harriers were the old ones and didn't fit the new gun pods. So the Harrier never had machine guns after that. So all it carried was Sidewinders rockets and 1,000-pounder bombs. So yeah. More clerical mess up. It happens a lot, you get surprised. Especially between Anglo-American stuff. It's kind of annoying as well when you're working on an aircraft and it's in inches and millimeters. Luckily the Harrier was mainly inches because it was an Anglo-American, and Rolls-Royce used inches for everything. But when it came to something like the Merlin is a European worldwide aircraft. It's made up of different countries, so for airframe is like a French Anglo concoction. For rotor blades are English, engines are English in R1, but for gearboxes Italian. And we use the Merlin helicopter uses the same Rolls-Royce engines that the Apache uses. However, because they're so powerful, and for gearboxes made by Italians, we had to reduce the power to 80% of the engine. Otherwise, the engine would chew up the Swiss cheese of the gearbox that the Italians made. So yeah, but because it's a European Anglo construction, the airframe's completely in millimeters, gearboxes in millimeters, but because the engines are Rolls-Royce, they're in inches, which is annoying. I hate doing conversions. Whereas it's a lot easier for the Japanese Merlins. The Japanese do have a Merlin because they use Kawasaki engines. Was it Northern Italian gears? Yeah. It was Northern Italian gears. They were terrible gearboxes. And pain in the ass to grease. And to wire up. The sensors would go on all the time because there's Italian wiring as well. Ooh. So yeah, a lot of fun. What's next? IDs over here. Swiss cheese effect, yeah. Also, another problem, mainly due to the Navy with the Merlin. The Merlin was designed to be a engineer's wet dream, because it was designed to require to have less maintenance than a normal aircraft, and it was also had everything was easy to access. Everything was easy to access. You just removed a panel, and there was all the linkages. Just removed another panel. There was all the gearboxes. Everything was all nicely ordered. You could reach everything, and unlike the Harrier, where Harrier you'd only get one hand in some places to wire lock something, everything was easy access. However, for Navy being Navy, they over-serviced the Merlin. Used to have that with Kabuto on mowers. Deck built in Britain, chassis in America, engine in Japan, assembly in France. Yeah. But because Navy being Navy, the Merlin was over-maintained. Because it's over-maintained, it produced a lot more problems. Because they couldn't leave well alone. So yeah. Another fun fact about the Harrier: the wheels are made from a magnesium alloy, which made it lighter. But when the brakes caught fire, yeah, it made it a little bit less, less work because the wheels would be burnt out. I got so many anecdotes from the Navy. So many things that happen. Okay, so this is the second layer of orange, and it's going on nicely. Finally. Fourth time doing this, and it's finally working. Flying tools only goes into limp mode. Yep. That was a weird thing about the Merlin. So for Merlin they used a lot of new techniques on the Merlin. Merlin was, I think, an 11-ton aircraft, but it could, unladen, it could reach speeds of 220 knots, which is as fast as a Lynx. And that was due to the design of the rotor blades, because it was designed similar to a Lynx. And so it was like an all rotor blade and then dipped at the end, which produced more lift. And it's one of the few aircraft, like the Apache and the Lynx, to be able to do barrel rolls and loop for loops. and fly upside down, which is weird for a helicopter. But it had what was called a monocoque shell. So a monocoque shell, if you don't know, is basically a shell where there's no internal structure. All the structure is in the skin. So but it was great because it saved on weight. So if the aircraft was lighter and could fly farther and stuff like that, but still maintain its structure. However, because of the monocoque shell, any damage to the skin damaged the airframe. So once the skin was damaged, you couldn't fly the aircraft, and you had to do an overhaul on the entire shell, replacing panels and such. And it was all fiberglass, mostly fiberglass. So Merlin is not a good aircraft for Warzone. However, you still have the Mark III Merlin, which is used by the Royal Marines to get airlifted into a war zone. They do have like extra armor panels for the cockpit, but yeah, once that thing got shot, that's it. Couldn't really fly anymore. Didn't Merlin take over from Seeking? It did, in some areas. They couldn't use it in search and rescue, so we still use Seekings as search and rescue. Because the Merlin's, the downforce from the rotors is too powerful. So when it came in to hover over the person who's stuck in the sea or casualty, it would just blow them away. It would float off somewhere else because the down rush from the rotor blades were too much, too strong. So we still use the Seeking for rescuing people at sea. Also, search and rescue is no longer done by the military; it's now privately owned. Still uses military pilots, but it's privately owned now. So they use what they want now. Bristols, yeah. Oh, it made me laugh. There's one time the aircraft handler, because we were on board, we have aircraft handlers which move our aircraft about for us. We can do it, but that's their job anyway. So we're on board, and this aircraft handler, and I don't know if, I swear to God that aircraft handlers don't know how to drive really, because most aircraft handlers can't go in a straight line. For some reason, aircraft handlers can't go in a straight line. And this one guy was driving, and he was not paying attention to what he's doing on deck, on board, and he veered left. Yeah, made the name doing all of your rig runs, yeah, and they still do it now. But yes, this guy was towing this Merlin to put it onto the lift so it can go below deck on Ark Row. He wasn't paying attention, veered left, and he drove his tractor that was towing the Merlin off the edge of the aircraft carrier. He almost pulled the Merlin off with him. This Merlin was sat on the edge with his front wheels off the edge of the aircraft carrier, with his tow bar on the wheels, holding on to his tractor. This guy in it panicking. So he was alright. He clambered up the tow bar, but if the aircraft had to go back into maintenance and have a whole new airframe, because that just wrecked the airframe, having a 3-ton tractor dangling off his wheel. But yeah, so there's not many places either where the search and rescue operate from. You've got one base up in Scotland, and you've got one down in Caldrose in Cornwall. That's where I was based for 3 years. a shame. Oops, big donut fight. Not just. Oh god, yeah. He wishes it was a donut fight. Yeah, he ripped a whole aircraft. But yeah, like I say, handlers don't know how to drive straight. The amount of times I've seen him go back and forth, when it would just be just drive straight and it would have been in the spot. It's ridiculous. Kinloss and Lossymouth, yeah. Yeah. I just don't remember names. Don't not remember names at all. I think I've been to Lossymouth. It was. I've been up Scotland way. Last time I was there was for an air show at some RAF base. Because when I was in the Navy, I still do actually, I have massive sideburns. Because in the Navy, you can have sideburns. And of course, we were there with all for RAF. We volunteered to help up with the air show up there at Lossymouth, I think. And we were all there, sat in there for our debriefing in the morning. And this warrant officer, this RAF warrant officer, decided to walk past, and then he spotted me with my massive sideburns. But what he didn't spot was my Royal Navy tag, because we were all on our greens, so we're on, combat 95s. He didn't notice my Royal Navy tag, and he pulled me up to the front. Started going on a lecture about proper etiquette, how to dress, and that Muggins here is going to cut his, he called me Elvis. I was going to trim his sideburns. It wasn't until afterwards he realised it was Navy, because everyone else did. Everyone else thought it was Navy, so he was right embarrassed. Oh, that was fun. That was also the same air show where I saw some model maker who took years to hand build a RC jet plane. It had like a proper fuel jet engine in it. I just saw it take off and nose down into the floor and burst into a fireball. You just look over at the fella and he's just head in his hands crying. He just destroyed his years worth of work in a flaming wreck. You do feel for him, you do understand it, but still. And their show as well. But yeah, the Navy is just a small part of my life. Did 6 years, when I was 18 to when I was 24. I've also worked in retail for 3 years. Well, I worked for Smith's Toy Store, I've worked for Games Workshop, and Homebase. And after Homebase, I now work in an office, behind a computer, sat on my butt, and I've been doing that for the past 6 years. Then I decided, why not stream? The government's not giving us a pay rise, so I'm going to stream, I'm going to paint, I'm going to sell 3D prints. I'm going to rent out a printer so people can print their own stuff too. Yeah, I know this is taking a while, but it does. With oranges, with any colour really, you should do it in thin layers when you're painting. Always thin down your paints. Do it nice and slow. In many layers. As old Duncan Rose says, 2 thin layers. In my case, it's going to be like 3 or 4, but still. At least this time the orange is working. Unlike last time. Once I've done all this layer of orange, we'll take a quick break. Sit back, maybe open a Pokemon pack. If you are interested and you want to give us a follow this evening, I will be streaming again from 7 to 8. Oh no, I'll be streaming between 7 and 8 to about 11 o'clock at night. And I'll either be doing this still, or I'll be painting for Goff Rocker. So at the end of the day, I don't mind taking as long as I can on this one. I was never a friend of Citadel paints. No. So, yeah, Citadel paints by themselves, especially the early stuff, weren't that good at all. Especially when, you know, the old colour range and the old foundation range, which I got here. I used the foundation grey to get the grey I wanted. However, I use Instapaint's Water Plus to thin them all down, which is better than water. And yeah, if you want to try something different and you don't want to spend too much money, so Instapaints do lots of different things. So they do lots of different colours. Also, their bottles, no matter how hard they try to, it always rubs. These tubs are rubbish. Don't know why they never went to droppers, like everyone else. Yeah, Instapaints do loads of these paints, loads of different colours, and they're all really cheap. Like they've got a paint set on there. Also, I hate droppers. But yeah, they got paints on there for 10 quid. You get a little set of 5 paints of cool paints, and you can mix 30,000 different colours from those 5 paints. These paints last ages. They're very cheap, so that like that would cost you 3 quid, if not less. That'll last you a long time. I paint outfit. I see. They also do a ton of additives. So you've got Metal Plus, which turns everything into a metallic paint. They got a Varnish Plus, which is their varnish. These are all kids of craft and art paints. That's pretty cool. So this Varnish Plus, you can use it as a normal varnish, or you can mix it with a paint and turn the paint into a varnish. And then Purple Shift, which you can either paint on top of a paint to give that purple shift clean, or you can mix it with a paint so it shifts between the colours. Also, Instapaints have loads of educational material for free on colour science and colour theory. So if you want to learn more and more about colour mixing and stuff like that, they have tons of information for that. They're also based in the UK, in Norwich, so they are a local to me at least, local company. But yeah, to be fair though, I like to use paints whatever I need at that time. Like I've got some AK, I've got some shuffle art metallic. And even though I've got tons of different paintbrushes, I use enamel MIG paints. Alright. I think I've got a MIG paint. No, I've got MIG Yeah, I got a MIG panel line wash because it's a good panel liner. But yeah, I've never, because I like to thin down my paints, so I use a wet palette. It's starting to dry out again. Because sometimes you cannot get the colour you want straight out of the paint pot, so you want to mix. And learning your colour theory is a good way of mixing. But I own way too many things. Don't we all? But then again, I usually don't mix paints. Yeah, and I understand that. It can be frustrating at times, you know. But I like to mix my paints because I like to have a graduation of colour. So it's not like very harsh, distinct lines or shading. So when I'm going between colours from like a light to a dark, I will mix them to make that transition a little bit more seamless. Let me just paint this funnel and I'll show you what I mean. Excuse me. Sorry for coughing down your ears. I'm 30 plus in the hobby now. Collect a lot of stuff over such as... Yeah, tell me about it. Get my camera and I shall show you around. So yeah, so this is my desk. These modular things from Hobby Zone are recent. You can see it's a mess. And some of my projects I've got to get through at some point. I played a single round of Warhammer. Nope, I stopped playing. I just buy what I like and paint what I like. But this is my little paint rack. There's all paints in there. Looks very cozy. Yeah, I have to sit in a corner of a room to do this. My workshop is like a 500 meters away and I can't be asked to walk up there and there's no good internet. So yeah, so all my stuff's kept quite close to me. Like, you know, and I'm a big, even though I don't play, I like my dice. I've got like a tin up here just full of dice. Yeah, when I mean by blend colours, if I get my Space Wolf, well, if anyone wants to punish you and say go see the corner, you probably don't get. Yeah, exactly. A bit dusty. Where's my dusting brush? Come on, where are you? Got a dusting brush around here somewhere. You're in there. Just have to try and get you. Let's just dust this off a little. So yeah, my Space Wolf bust. I had to do a lot of... This is the first time I got skin to how I want it. And there is a lot of layering and blending and mixing colours just to get that skin colour. Nice one, love that bust. Yeah, it's a 3D print I brought. But you can tell the difference. Like, I spent so much time in the face. And on, like, for bronze, it looks like it. This is like 4 or 5 different bronzes and silvers to get that look. But then the armor, I just rushed. Did not spend my time on this armor at all. I'd love to see some of your busts. You can post a link on here. So into busts right now. Well, I do 3D print and sell them myself. Yeah, post your Instagram, man. I'm quite happy when people post links as long as it's not malicious. And it's not spamming. And definitely not rickrolling. Here you are. Okay. Let's have a look. Shall we? Shall we all have a look? Let me have a... there we go. No, not real glowing, but I have good manners. I'm going to give you a follow back. There we go. And these are some really cool... I really like the green on this bust. Oh, you got some dragons as well. Well, that's good orc. I like that. Oh, that's cool. Like Batman. Or Man-Bat. Yeah, these are really cool busts. I like busts as well because you can spend more attention to detail. Oh, that red's very nice. I like how you've done that red. That's a good ogre. That's very nice. Ooh, I like how you've done that orange. The blending's really done well. The old forward all cool, all bust. Nice. That's some real good stuff on there, man. You do good. Not for myself, but for others in case they want to commission you for something. I'm trying to think the last bust I did. Suru was a 3D bust. STL. Ah, I see. Yeah, I'll show you my last bust in a second. Let me just paint this set of funnels. So I'm taking my time. It's me ass time. As you should when you're painting. Take your time. Do not rush. Even with airbrushing, do not rush. Take your time. Let the paint settle, let it cure. Suru, the yellow guy, thanks mate. Yeah, I do like that. But this one here, did I put it away? Oh, let's just dust this one off. Should we be more attentive when dusting? This is the last bust I did. This is a 3D print that I printed. I was experimenting using, because I like doing skin tones. So I was experimenting a lot with blending and such. Cute, yeah. I think I got some busts on my eBay. Thanks. I do like purple. I'm a big fan of purple, if you ever noticed. So I'm going to get purple skin down. But I do sell some busts on my eBay as well. Of monks. But yeah, I should print more busts off and do some painting of them. So I've got one over here that I'm doing that I printed off. Got a bust of undercoat and paint, which I should do. That's for a Japanese artist who do a lot of stuff, a lot of figures and that, a lot of art. He kindly gave me his STL for it. could even have some more diamond highlights for my taste, just my taste. You're right. Like I said, normally I don't. So when I paint something, I paint it, and once it's done, I like to look at it and see where I've gone wrong, what I could do better. But I don't repaint my models. I like to keep them so I've got something to reference to. She does. This camera's useless. She does look a lot better in photos. My Twitter has more than my Insta. I've got to really update my Insta. I usually only put completed models on my Instagram, that's why. My whips are on my Twitter. No, I never repaint too. Well, most of it. I just find that, being able to look back on your previous work and go, oh, that's where I can improve. But if you overpaint it, you don't have that reference to go back to. And it's always good to have, even failures, just to sit there so you know, like, well, I'm not going to do that again. Or, I could improve that. Let's see if I can improve it and do it elsewhere. I like the 3D printed green armor with a butterfly. Ah, yes. Helog. She's obviously done by Periwinkle on Twitter. And she was sculpted by Hector from Ronan Arts Workshop. And I sell her 3D print on eBay. Actually, I'm actually selling this one as well. Again, if you experiment with this one, because I'm managing to get skin down to a T now, so the experiment was for green, and especially here with darker and lighter green on her legs. Very cute, yes, I know. She is cute. But I know I can do better. I rushed that one, and I know I can do it better. Same with like this one here. Another one I got for sale that I don't need anymore. This is a Nega Queen, Nega. She's from Raging Heroes, I believe. Again, as you can see, I've got the skin down to a T. It's just Naga. That's it. Thank you. And I got her, and basically this here was just working on her scales. So I was working on her scales there. And this one here, again, the skin, nicely done. This was mainly to do with makeup, so I was practicing my makeup on this one. Unfortunately, 3D print itself came out a bit dodge here. It can be, yeah, scales can be a single miniature onto itself. But then I have experimented with other things that I don't like, really. Like this Marine Captain. I done in all in contrast. And I tried to do non-metallic metal on the sword with reflection of his shin guard. So yeah. Not all my work is my favourite. Gotta stop shoulder barging for Mike. Right, let's get these funnels done. I could sit here all day talking about painting techniques and showing off some of my collection. Well, my best model I've painted so far I don't have with me. It was a commission piece for a friend of mine. It was Gaz Cole Fracker, the new one. You'll probably see it on my Insta or my Twitter or my Tumblr. And it's where I first did proper weathering. It just came out so nice. And the yellow was so good on it. It's almost a shame that I don't have it, but you know, I got paid for it at the end of the day, so I'm not going to complain too much. And that same friend I'm painting that one for Goff Rocker. It's going to be his birthday, so I'm painting that up for him. It's a birthday present. Getting almost out orange. Sorry if you come and join me watching, hoping to get to see Gundam painting and just see me applying orange in multiple layers to the same pieces over and over. I think I'm almost out. Hopefully got enough there for doing these files. Doing it a bit more. What's that doing over there? Trying to run away. Whew. Like all painting, time consuming. And as we see in like the real brush guy and me, we have completely different painting styles. However, we both produce good results. that's what painting is kind of like that. No matter what you use, an airbrush, paintbrush, it's all about finding the best way to paint for you, and you will develop your own techniques. There's nothing, wrong with that. Everyone's different. Yeah, I see. It seems like I developed quite a unique wash and paint style over the years. Yeah. Whereas I've developed a layering way. So unfortunately, I like the orange, but most of the stuff I paint, I start at the mid layer. So say if I was going to go like this squig here, I used mainly these colours and this wash, and maybe a little bit of white, which is over here. And I would mix these two colours, and I'd start there. It gives me the best control of the paints. Yeah, all depends on what your control is. So I start mixing these two, so I get a nice medium between the two. Paint that all over the miniature that I want to paint, like that squig there. Then I work my way down to the shadows. So I work down to the shadow, and then and I'm painting into the recesses and such until you get to like the darkest, where you're just painting right for recess. And then I go back to the mix of these two colours, paint that over most of it. Again, just leaving all the darkened area. And then I work my way up to the highlight. Then I wash it after that, and then I work to my highlights, working up to this orange and lighter. I also write down all my paint recipes, which I've got around here somewhere. I have a special notepad for all. Yeah, I keep all my paint recipes in a notepad, so I don't have to remember how to paint something. I've got it written down. I can just refer to what I've got written. There it is. So this is my little paint recipe book. So that's just boring information. But like here, so male skin. I never wrote down anything yet. I forget a lot easier, so I need to write stuff down. So this is what I do to get. This is what I did to get that space wolf skin. It's all this, and this also includes them from the eyes as well, mouth highlights on those, and then more eye stuff. What's that doing in there? Saying that, so this is the armor I did on the Space Wolf's armor, white hair, female skin, the eyes for the female, lips, so like for makeup for the eyeshadow, blush, fire effect, Blood Angel's armor, my Blood Angels, wolf pelt, Blood Raven's shoulder pad, and paper. So the pauldrons, the Blood Raven's pauldrons are not white. They're like a script, like paper, so like the stuff you get on purity seals and stuff. So it's like aged paper. So I made a colour for that, purple metal, which is all right. That's not too good. And then my latest flesh tone with Insta paints, which was a lot quicker. But this is just using Insta paints. So yeah, I've got more to add. It's useful if you do squads, army, stuff like that, more than anything, because when it comes to like busts and individual characters, they're all going to be unique. What you paint on them is unique, so they're not all going to be the same constantly. They are going to be different colours. As long as you remember your technique on how you did those colours. So I use the same technique on everything, how I paint. from mids to dark to light. So yeah. Except for this orange. This orange has been all over the place. This orange is going from dark to light because of how light the orange is. So once this is a nice solid colour, I'll give it a shade. Give it a good old wash. And then go back over and then do it all again with a lighter colour. Again, my techniques, my style, the way I do things is not the end all be all. I'm always learning, constantly learning. New techniques and stuff, new ways to paint things, new ways to mix colours. It's like I'm slowly learning airbrushing. So I'm pretty good with a rattle can, so my next Gundam paint will be airbrushed. This is probably my, and then I'll do all the details by hand. Because what I did with this, I didn't break it down into enough modules because I didn't want to waste time painting it. Again, being impatient. I have a good compressor and airbrush too, but I'm always too lazy to use them, even though they can work miracles, perform well. Yes. I like to pre-shade with airbrushes. I've done the whole Blood Angels squad before. It's up in the attic at the moment with airbrush. And it can, if done patiently, it can produce quite some good results. Too much paint on there. Again, like I say, my airbrush is up in my workshop, which is up in the field. I can't be asked to walk all that way on a rainy day. Also, there's no internet, so I can't stream it. Or there's really bad internet, so I can't stream it. I could record it and then edit it for YouTube, but you know. We'll do a pre-recorded. My partner just showed me some of the work she's been doing. Her Centipede Girl for a Monster Girl collection. But yeah, again, the problem is though, the difference between airbrush and paintbrush is price. If you want a decent airbrush, you gotta buy a decent air compressor, which is going to cost you at least 100. And a decent airbrush, like one I've got, I use an iWater, which was like 120 quid. And then the paints aren't cheap. You could use a Citadel and pin them down, but again, it's airbrushing is a more expensive way of getting into it. It does produce really nice results, really clean, smooth finish. Because I'll probably, once I hand paint all this, I'll airbrush the clear coat on top. But yeah, it's definitely an art. Whereas with hand brushing, you can buy any old brush. Like these brushes I got here. These ones. They're like cheap as chips on Amazon. But they're very good. They're actually quite good. My brother got me these for a Christmas present. You don't have to expend extortionate amount of money on a brush and paints to get these paints were cheap. These are just acrylic metallic paints. Don't know, they're just a generic shuffle art, generic brand, and they still do good as long as you thin it down nicely enough and work it in layers. Paintbrushing is a bit more. There's no level you have to already be at. There's no thing. No, best brushes don't make you a better painter. Exactly. So I just happen to reassure my partner. She doesn't want to mess up this picture. But yeah. So paintbrushes aren't expensive. It is an easier level to get into. It's quite inclusive. You can buy random paints. You're going to start out. I wouldn't buy Citadel. Citadel's expensive for what it is. Too expensive. I've just got tons of it. That's all. I got the entire contrast range down there, which I don't use. Like I say, go to Insta, go Vallejo, go AK. You can just go random acrylic, and you could easily get into painting that way. Just start. The only thing I would say with painting, you can paint on a base coat, like I've done with my foundation paint for what I'm doing with orange. You can paint on base paints, but it's easier, quicker, and more reliant if you just get a rattle can of primer and just spray your plastic model in primer. You don't even have to have a even layer of primer on there for it to work. It'll just paint will stick to it, and there's a little bit of primer on there. I got so many damn models that are primed around here. So this is a resin model primed. And this is a plastic model primed. So yeah, the textures are the same once they're primed. I prime and varnish them in my airbrush. So exactly, yeah. I would prime and varnish with. If you don't want to use an airbrush, you get a rattle can. A spray can would work just as good than an airbrush. The only difference is an airbrush uses less paint than a rattle can. But it all depends how often you paint, how often you want to be painting, and what kind of look you're going for. If you want a nice clean look, especially if you're doing armor stuff like this, you might want to airbrush it just to get a nice smooth paint. I've hand brushed all this. As you can tell, there's like loads of brush streaks. I'm gonna have to go back over it again at some point because where this was dirty. Again, this is all hand painted. Yeah, rattle cans are not environmentally friendly, where an airbrush uses an air compressor, which just uses compressed air from a motor. So yeah, gunpowder is perfect for airbrushing, exactly, because a lot of big. You don't need to glue gunpowder when you build it first time. So I build them first, then I take them apart. So I keep all the instruction books. I then take them apart into little modules or further down just to the armor. Airbrush them in batches. That way then, and then once they're airbrushed, coated in a top layer, I then put them together. And then once they're together, I then put on. I might glue them when I'm doing that bit. And then I will put on another top coat for decals. On the other hand, you have to use energy. Yes, so a compressor still uses electricity. So yeah, so both sides of brushing and airbrushing, there are cons and pros to doing both. So yeah, so this is my needs a clean. I haven't cleaned it in a while. I've got a sonic cleaner for that. So this is my Iota Revolution. Pretty simple, dual action airbrush. But it just definitely need to be taken apart and cleaned properly, which I'll do with my sonic cleaner. But again, there's a lot with a paintbrush. You just pick up a paintbrush, pick up some paint and apply it to the model. With an airbrush, there's so much more you need to know. You need to know how to clean the thing, how to maintain it, and there's like other stuff. Like with paintbrushing, you can just add water to thin down the paints. With airbrushing, you need a paint thinner. There's also There's also airbrush cleaners you can buy as well. They're not that expensive, but it's stuff. It is tedious. There's a lot more you have to do with it. So yeah. I might do a YouTube video on airbrushing at some point. But again, I'm not an expert. I'm alright with hand brushing, as you've seen. But yeah. But like, I don't airbrush much. I hand brush a lot. Because it's easy. I can sit in my house, sit at my desk and do this with a hand brush. And it's not toxic. You don't have to worry about other people being in the area, breathing in all the paint fumes. You just sit here and paint. You need, like, that's another thing with an airbrush. You can't just, you can sit there and outside and do it. But you need, if you're doing it inside, you need a spray booth. I built my own spray booth. You can buy them, but they're not cheap. And you got to make sure you got like a good flow of air coming in, so as well, so you don't get gassed out. And you have to wear a breather, like a gas mask and stuff. So a lot more thought into airbrushing, not so much with paintbrushing. You could do paintbrushing on your sofa, as long as you've got somewhere for your paints to go, and a water pot. You're good to go. And don't believe all these YouTube videos say, "Oh, paintbrushing, airbrushing's easy." It's not easy. Like everything, you gotta learn it. It's so much. It's not cheap. So yeah, a lot you gotta think about. Alright, I'm gonna have to stop for lunch because I am hungry. I'm a hungry man. Yes. Thank you for everyone who has joined. Thank you for everyone who has followed today. Thank you for the raid. That was much welcomed. Thank you for all that came with Corvus on his raid as well. Thank you for all staying around to watch. It's been helpful. If you want to catch me again, today I will be on again. Thank you, Real Brush Guy. I will have nice lunch. I'll be gone again after tea, around about 7 o'clock this evening. It's nice to see your work. I'll keep an eye on it as well on the Instagram. But yeah, so yeah, you can catch me again at 7 this evening. I'll be on till 11 at night. Again, we'll be painting. Sometimes I do build if I'm bored, but yeah. Thanks, mate. No worries. Thank you for being here, Stevie. And I will see you again then. Oh, don't forget, 1 o'clock, Gundam Fan 7 will be on, so you can watch it if you still need some Gundam love.